Hello, welcome to Big Bang Radio Spotlights. This is a show where we talk to independent artists from all around the world all about their music and the process for making it. I'm your host, Isaac Anderson, and today I got to sit down with the alternative band Brewster. Without any further ado, here's the interview. Well, Mark, thank you so much for being here. Really do appreciate it. Like we talked a little bit before the interview about you were supposed to be at Studio 67 doing an underground examination with us, but unfortunately, due to the coronavirus, we're in our homes, each of our home studios, and we are talking to each other that way. But either way, I really did want to talk to you, even if you were not coming to North Carolina. We hope to have that happen in the future, but. We hope this will make a nice substitution for all the viewers out there and all the fans. So,
Absolutely.
I always try to start at the beginning with the artists that I talk to, and this is always kind of different for everybody, just because everyone has such a different upbringing and different experiences. But what is your first musical memory?
My first musical memory, I think it has to do with the Beatles. I feel like I have this memory of my dad playing me Strawberry Fields when I was like a little like a baby, but probably more like a brighter memory than that is I right around the time that I was like 3 or 4 or 5, that Beatles anthology big release thing came out. So that was around like 93, 94, something like that. And my dad was a massive Beatles fan, and we had it all on cassette. So it was like 3 or 4 books worth of cassettes, and they were all just like live takes. They were live takes or studio takes or whatever of the same song, just like over and over and over and over and over again. And me and my siblings were just, we were really young, so we didn't really care. And I guess he was like listening to the Sgt. Pepper takes a lot, because I remember those songs happening over and over, like every car ride, especially long car rides and stuff. So that's what I'll go with for that. I think that was the first.
Awesome. And you kind of miss out on the big cassette books and everything, because I still like I was kind of the generation that kind of started the CDs and everything. You started seeing the end of physical mediums, but just something about having that big book and all those alternate takes of like the famous songs,
the album covers in it and stuff. It's really weird to feel nostalgic about that, because I've had the same conversation about people before the records came back, and everyone was like, records were so cool because you had the big album cover and stuff, and now we feel that way about CDs and having a big book. It's things move in cycles like that.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of the physical medium and everything, and also one of my first musical memories was with the Beatles too, and just something about having like a physical piece of music like that is really special, and I hope that doesn't go away. But it's that's super awesome. So
Yeah.
kind of going more into as you kind of grown up. How did you get your start in playing music? Did you grow up in a musical family? This is something you fell into? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I grew up in a musical family. My dad always was a musician, still is. My mom is into like classical kind of stuff, singing in choirs and stuff like that. And then me and all of my brothers started taking music lessons when we were like little kids. I've been told that I was whistling when I was in a stroller, so that has always been a part of my life.
That's awesome. It's awesome. It's all. I always love hearing the artist whenever they say like they have like they've been singing since they were in the cradle and stuff too. And it's I can just tell if anybody's ever heard your music just kind of flows through your veins and everything. It just feels so effortlessly, like it feels so effortless.
I'm glad it comes across that way.
It does, man. And I think now we should kind of get into some Brewster stuff. So first off, how did you get the name Brewster?
So great segue. Brewster is the name of a town in Massachusetts where my parents, well, now just my parents, but growing up, that we would go to over the summers. And so it's my earliest memory of being like happy and carefree. And so I named it after that town.
Oh, sweet. That's super awesome. I didn't know if that had anything to do with like alcohol, with like the brew and things like that.
Coincidence.
Yeah, but I think that's a beautiful thing that you named it that, just because you have that connection with your past and everything. So, how did exactly did Brewster start? So, for those that don't know, I know you played live with guys, but Brewster's kind of your baby. It's your project, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so how did you kind of sit there like in your home one day and think, oh wow, I really want to start a thing, or was it like I have all these songs and I'm just going to put them out this outlet? I don't know. I'm interested to hear how exactly this started.
It's a little bit of both. I've been a member of bands for as long as I have been allowed to, since I was like 13 or whatever. So being an active member of the New Jersey music community has been a pretty big part of my life, as now longer than it wasn't. So I'd always been in bands, and then like towards my more adult life, I started committing more seriously to it and decided that it was what I wanted to do with my life. Uh, was in and out of a bunch of different bands, and always kind of felt like I could never. There was, I don't know quite how to say it. It was like there was something that I could never really fully feel like I was engulfed in it unless I was totally in charge of like every aspect, lyrics, music, arrangement, whatever. Which, like as you can imagine, is not a great formula for working with other people. So I kind of just started to write my own stuff at home, and then I play a bunch of different instruments, so I was able to demo it all out at home while I was writing it and imagine what other musicians would do. And then after a couple of years of writing, I started reaching out to my musical peers and having them come over and hear the songs and help me finish writing them. And then I put together some bands for to play it all live. And then that's, I think I'm on like the third form of the live band now, but this one that I have has been the longest.
Awesome, man. And so I think I should jump in because you mentioned you're in New Jersey, correct?
I am in New Jersey, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm always curious as a musician myself. How is the music scene in New Jersey? Is it pretty
Oh,
prominent?
yeah, it's vibrant. There's, I mean, historically been so much great music to come out of here from forever ago, and then like in the alternative music scene or whatever you want to call it, especially from like '80s and on, from New Brunswick and the Court Tavern, and lots of great power pop acts, and then a lot of great punk rock has come out of here. And then especially in the, I mean, I feel like maybe the past 10 years or so, the DIY scene has been, I mean, it's always been great, but maybe I've just been involved with it for the past 10 years or so, so it seems bigger to me. But it's really vibrant. There's been a lot of bands that have come out of it and continued on to be successful and career musicians and stuff, and really supportive, lots of community, not a whole lot of places to play anymore, which is unfortunate. But it is here, and it is great. I love it.
How do you go about writing your music, like specifically your lyrics? And do you record your own music? And what is your process of recording?
Okay, writing. There's a couple different ways that happens. A lot of times, I mean, I feel like I'm thinking about writing all the time. So I guess it starts with music mostly first, because I'm constantly consuming music and listening to it and playing it. And I think it'll usually start with like a riff or a chord progression or a vibe that I feel. Um, and I'll start to play it out. And just because like I'm a meticulous arranger and stuff like that, I will usually start to arrange it right away as soon as I come up with a riff or a chord progression or something. And if something feels really good, I immediately start, at least in my head, seeing like, okay, this is what a verse is going to be. This is like where the vocals are going to do, and the bass can kind of do this, and it'll all start to kind of branch together like that. And then as far as lyricism goes, um, it will either come out of some little notes on the notepad app on the iPhone, and I'll like string together some that give me the feeling that the music is giving me. I guess the way I want to say it is, the music has a feeling, and I feel like when you start to write something, the music that you're writing is trying to tell you something, and I try to just listen to that. And one of my methods for doing that is you kind of just leave your phone recording, and then you're playing the music, and I'll usually have a vocal melody pretty quick, which is another part of what I think of, like, it's your body and your mind trying to tell you what the song is, and I kind of try to just let that happen. And so I will mumble complete nonsense gibberish with the vocal melody as I'm playing it, and have my phone recording a voice memo for, like, 7 or 8 minutes, and then I'll stop, go do something else, and then come back to it as a listener instead of a writer, and listen to it. And then I'll sit there, like, at the computer or with a notepad or something, and I will listen to the gibberish and write down what it sounds like I'm saying. And then usually some words will start to pop out of that, and the song will start telling you what it's about, is how I feel about it.
I think we should talk about specifically one of your albums, which is probably the big one for you. It's on Spotify. I've been listening to it a lot, especially before this interview. It was "Forever Better Kisses," I believe, right?
Yeah, that's the only LP that I got. We put out a little live doohickey, like, right before New Year's, but yeah, the record is Forever Better Kissers.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you talk a little bit about the process for making that record specifically? Before, we talked about your writing process and how you record and everything. Was that like an album, like a group of songs that you had for a long time, or was, like, how long did the recording process take? Was it pretty fast, or, like, did you really, like, were arduous over it and, like, no, this has to be this way, this has to be this way?
It's a little bit of both. It wasn't necessarily a group of songs that I had sitting around. I knew that I was writing a record. I knew that it was going to be for this new project. When I started writing it, I didn't have the name yet, but I knew it was my group of songs to introduce this new thing that I was doing. I would say overall, the writing process of that record was, like, maybe a year and a half, like 2016 to very early 2018, maybe even the end of 2017, actually. Some of it, I'd say half of it, was, like, really arduous in writing, in that it took me. I mean, when I was writing that, I also was kind of learning, like, I had to find my voice at first. I wasn't exactly sure what kind of songwriter I was going to be yet, because I hadn't really truly been a songwriter yet. I had played in other bands and written songs for other bands, but true blue 100% songwriter, I had never really, that felt like the new thing that I was doing. So I had to kind of figure out what my voice was, how I was going to express myself that way. So that took the longest. And then once I kind of cracked that code, a lot of it did seem to kind of just kind of spill out. I feel like I remember there being maybe like a 6-month period there where I was really stuck on some stuff. But towards the end of maybe 2017, I think it was. Time is a little meaningless at the moment, so it's hard to remember
Yeah,
the
everything's kind
year.
of blurring together now that we're all at the time of recording this. Everybody's suffering from the cabin fever of the coronavirus stay-at-home orders in all the different states. I don't know
Big time.
how it is in New Jersey, but I imagine it's around the same.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Um, the there's a couple of songs on there. I mean, something I wanted to do with the record was capture the feeling of how exciting it feels when you start writing a song that you really like. There's about a 5 or 6 hour window where you think it's just like the greatest piece of art ever created, the best song you've ever heard, and you're so psyched on it. I mean, that's what happens to me, and I, like, listen to the demo over and over and over again and totally make myself hate it. That's a problem I still have. But I wanted to figure out how to capture that energy, because I felt like in the past that energy goes away through the process of finessing a record and recording it in the proper way and everything. So a lot of the songs on there were written in one day and then recorded on that same day. At least the fundamental tracks, I can think of, like, probably at least 3 of them that were done like that, because I just got I was like, I know this is good. I took the time to finish it today. I like all of it enough. Maybe I can wither it down and change it a little bit later on. But like Bird in an Airport, you mentioned, the guitar track on that is the first day that I wrote that, and I was never able to recreate the energy of myself being so excited that I had written something that I liked so much that day. There was just some kind of sauce about that performance that I really liked and was never able to recreate it. So there's a lot of stuff like that on the record as far as writing goes. So some of it was quick, some of it took forever.
Well, it's a lovely record, man. I hope you know that so many people really enjoy it. I definitely enjoy it.
Awesome.
So thank you for making that just from another person to another person. What's next for Brewster? I know we're kind of in some uncertain times right now with the whole coronavirus thing going on, but do you have any plans for like putting out any more music? Maybe a tour after this whole stay-at-home thing ends?
Yes. I'll say touring first for sure, as long as, I mean, again, there is a huge question mark as far as what touring is even going to look like after the next 2 months. I would love to tour in 2020. I'd love to do that, if it were safe, if it were complete, like if this was no longer a thing. I would love to spend the rest of the year on tour, because, as you know, I was supposed to be on tour at this moment. So definitely want to keep doing that. Me and the band have kept up a pretty consistent schedule of every 3 to 4 months being on the road for about a month. So going to keep that up, I think, ideally. And I am writing a new record right now, and I wanted that to be out in 2020. Again, things have changed course a little bit, so I don't know when that's going to happen. I'll show you right now. I was currently working on something at the moment.
Oh, sick!
So I'm finishing a record right now. It's very close. Me and the guys have started rehearsing some of the new stuff. So, I mean, probably with this time spent at home, that's going to jumpstart that process a lot, and we're probably going to end up recording this record a lot sooner than we would have otherwise, which is pretty exciting. So just kind of keeping the train moving, going to keep playing as much as possible, tour when it's safe, play at home as much as it's safe. Just, I'm not going to let this, I think I had some great momentum going, and I'm going to keep that going.
That's awesome, man. I hope you do, and I hope when next time you come back to North Carolina, that you can stop by Studio 67. Maybe we get to have a small performance there if we possibly can.
Sure.
If people want to keep up with what Brewster's doing and just any new music that you guys are putting out, any info about this upcoming tour whenever it starts to be safe, how can people find that social media wise?
You can find the music of Brewster on Spotify. All you got to do is search the word Brewster, Brewster, and you will see This Ugly Mug. And you click on that, and it's got our record from last year, as well as a small little 5-track live record that we did in Alabama on our tour last fall. So that's pretty fun. It's a good way to kind of get the experience of what seeing a Brewster show is like in this period of time when we have no idea when the next one of those is going to be able to be. Those are both on Spotify, Apple Music. There's brewster.bandcamp.com, and then all social media handles are Brewster Tunes, BREWSTERTUNES.
Lovely. Well, Mark, thank you so much for talking with me today. We all at Studio 67 really do appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it. It was a pleasure talking to you. Before we go, I always end all the interviews I do with all of my musical artists like this. I'm a big movie guy. I'm a musician, but I also love film. I think the two mediums are very closely connected, and I actually host a movie show at Studio 67 called Big Bang Cinema. And I end all my interviews with asking the artist, what is your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? My go-to answer has always been "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" I haven't kept up with film enough to know if that's still true, but it was a very formative movie for me, and still feels that way, I think. I'd probably still like it. I don't really know.
It's a great movie. It holds up, man. It holds up.
Cool, okay.
Thanks to the band Brewster for sitting down with me and talking all about their music. If you guys want to see more interviews just like this, you can go to facebook.com/Studio67NCC, youtube.com/NashComCollege, or you can find us on Instagram at Studio67NCC. Thank you all for watching. I'm Isaac Anderson, and until next time, stay lovely.